Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast in Game 2 in a series between Liquid Sheth versus Loner here on Shattered Temple. Game 2 in a best of 3. If you guys are looking for Game 1, it is up on Machinima Realm. And just trying to cover all of my bases and get all of my shows out there. And sometimes, unfortunately, I do have to split up best of 3 series. But then again, hopefully, maybe we'll direct a little bit more traffic my way from Realm. If you guys did come from Realm, give me a thumbs up. Otherwise, give me a thumbs up. Yeah, don't give me any thumbs down. As we now see Sheth spawning as the purple Zerg player here at the 6 o'clock position. Loner as the blue Terran player over here at the 3 o'clock position. This will be ally spawns or close walking spawns. This is Season 3, not after Season 4, so it does make for some very interesting matchups. Zerg players generally have a very, very bad time on a map like this. They have a more difficult time trying to establish up a third base as opposed to, say, cross spawns where they can easily take down these rocks or these rocks over here in order to establish a third base that's a little bit further away. But because of the way this is all situated, Sheth is going to find that he's in a little bit more of a precarious situation, as he's not going to really be able to handle two bases nearly as much. So we'll see what exactly his strategy will be this time around. A drone is coming in to get some damage onto this SCV. It looks like a new SCV is going to try to make its way over, but it is going to delay the barracks even further. So the 65 build time, now somewhere in the 68 build time, it shouldn't affect Loner all too much, as Loner is opening up and, oh, maybe able to get that kill off. No, two more shots, but an SCV coming over to repair. Is it going to be enough, as the drone's trying to get even more damage? But those SCVs are auto-repairing or doing a good job repairing, and it looks like the drone may get surrounded, and wow! This one SCV down to 2 hit points, able to survive. Now, it looks like this drone will be making its way over and perhaps doing a little bit more scouting. There is currently only a hatchery over here. Sheth is not leaving his overlord in this position, curiously enough, so a bunker could perhaps be placed down. Spawning pool about halfway completed. We can see Marines are going to be trained, but Marines are going to have a very difficult time against the Zerglings. As soon as those Zerglings do in fact spawn, a poor drone now going to get some damage onto this Marine over here. The drone needs to get away, knowing that he cannot take on a Marine 1 versus 1. This one hatchery about 20 seconds away from being completed. 5 drones now being transferred, 6 drones now being transferred over, and the drones do have a faster movement speed than those Marines, so very important. This is not Warcraft 3 where the workers actually move slower. The workers are actually a viable fighting unit early on in the game, as this one Marine just using its little pea shooter trying to take down a hatchery most likely will have no success there. Now, Loner does have a factory up, but he did not get his second gas, so I would assume that he's either going to try to build up another barracks or perhaps a command center to go for that all-important 2-base push. Things are good for him on this map right now. He knows that a Zerg player is going to have a little bit of a harder time trying to establish a third base, so if he's able to get a command center and get his economy going, he should be able to fight this back fairly easily. But now we see that Sheth is going into Roach play. Now, this is one of those strengths of Zerg. Zerg can establish this hatchery as, or make it look like he is expanding. And expanding, he kind of is, but he's going to actually, he may try to use this more as a macro hatch. And if he uses this as a macro hatch, gets down a lot of creep tumors, he may have success in trying to push out and move forward. Hellions are going to try to make their way in, but the Hellions are going to have a very, very hard time trying to push in or push through at all. You can see that the Hellions and the Zerglings and those Hellions and the Marines are both sides are fighting back and forth. Sheth very low hit points on one Queen. Needs to be very careful. Needs to spawn some larvae. He needs to get something done, as the Hellions and the Marines are now able to make their way in along the backside. Currently, one Zergling just poking apart at a Hellion so far. And there were some drone kills, as Loner down to 13 hit points on this Hellion. The drones look like they are going to get torched a little bit more, but not really take that much damage. Taking a look at the losses, slightly more losses for Sheth, but Sheth now getting roaches as well. Gonna have 8 roaches to knock on that front door. Marines are not going to be that strong of a counter. Siege tank would be the perfect counter unit, but those roaches, 4 roaches, gonna be able to deal a lot of damage every 2 seconds. I believe it's 32 damage a second, and perhaps being able to take down a supply depot in 10 seconds, or even a tech lab. There is a siege tank now trying to fight back. And now going to try to play a little bit of that chicken game, as perhaps an Overlord may be able to park itself off right here in order to gain sight onto that high ground. SCVs are backing away, trying to or able to repair up this supply depot, but it's still going to be rather difficult, as the roaches are going to perhaps push in once more. Going to go ahead and take down the tech lab. The tech lab, if it is lost, has very little surface area for those SCVs, but now going after Marines as well. But Sheth really taking a beating here. Not quite sure what his long-term goal is. He's trying to almost exchange roaches to buy time, but he is forcing Loner to pull away a lot of those SCVs. And now, with so much damage being dealt to this tech lab, these SCVs constantly need to repair. This Overlord could reposition itself. Not quite sure why it is not. That would probably be the better use, as the roaches would be able to shoot up onto the high ground, force the siege tank to actually engage over here, where then the roaches can try to swarm in and flank from this side and snipe it down as well. But that doesn't seem to be the case. Overlords are just in position in a couple locations. Sheth now moving in with this Overlord here. We are going into a lot more Marines. Excuse me, a lot more Marines are going to be trained off of the reactors, and I'm kind of surprised that there is no tech lab. So this may be your classic Marine tank push. We have seen siege tanks siege up along here, able to deal a lot of damage outside the melee range, plenty of cover fire. Siege Tank's greatest attribute is its 13 range and high splash damage. Zerglings now continuing to swarm out as well. Taking a look at the harvester count, 35 compared to 30. And a little curious, as Sheth now opting to take down these rocks, and he's going to try to expand into this location here. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Zergling is activating the center Zelnaga Tower, so he will be able to see if anything tries to come in around the far side or the long way, as long as it doesn't go through the brush in the center. Now, Loner's income is fairly strong. He does have those 2 mules, but we are getting double or triple extractors now coming in from Sheth. So Sheth now changing up his strategy, perhaps going to go into tier 2 into Mutilus, but there are so many Marines, and now the Marines are going to be able to snipe down the Overlord as well. Loner continuing to roll on in. Things are going to be looking good. Yeah, Loner definitely going to utilize this location here. This is a Terran player's dream, but Zergling's now going to perhaps be able to snipe down some of these SCVs as well. And now what's going to be happening here, as the Spine Crawler and Zergling's able to pick apart some of those units. There are Marines further back, but the Zerglings are still knocking on the front door. This is not looking good, as the SCVs have been able to just outflank Loner completely. And now there are no Marines here, as the Zerglings are going to be able to clean up these siege tanks. So Loner getting completely caught out of position, as siege tanks are going to go down. It looks like those Zerglings may be able to finish off the rest of those siege tanks, perhaps chase down. No, it is not going to chase down, as Loner finally cleans that up. But 27 harvesters compared to 42, and Sheth really doing a good job of baiting Loner to move in. There were Zerglings out over here. As soon as he saw something on the front door, he just took that opportunity to run them in there, and that was absolutely perfect. Sheth now perhaps going to expand into this location here. I would also suggest him expand into this location here as well, as Loner is most likely going to be looking for that all-important third base at this stage in the game. Loner is in a much more defensive posture. These rocks have been destroyed as well, so very interesting that these rocks have been destroyed. It now opens up another way for the Marines to be able to push in, and perhaps the siege tanks along this side here are going to be even more effective, as it covers much more of this low ground here. Zerglings now attempting to take down the rocks at the gold mineral patches on the north side. Banelings are being added, but no real upgrades that I can see as of yet. So Banelings, Spine Crawlers, double extractors at 2 bases so far, as we are now going into a Spire. It looks like we will be training up 7 to 8 Mutalists in just a couple seconds, and then Sheth will be able to perhaps utilize the high movement speed of those units and be able to poke around and deal a little bit more damage once again. Creep tumors are being added as well. There's the 8 Mutalists that I mentioned. Need to get some more Overlords, as he is now currently supply block. Loner rinsing and repeating with the same strategy once more. There are a lot of supply depots here, so Loner going to be able to prevent any Zerglings from being able to run by, but there is a sea or 20 Zerglings off here, so those 20 Zerglings are going to be able to rush in. as Marines able to snipe down a couple of those free overlords once again, and now all he really needs to see is that those siege tanks are slowly going to push their way in, and now going to try to do in a little bit more harassment. Sheth now coming in. He does have Mutalisk over here. Is it going to be enough, as the Marines are now going to be able to start poking around as well, and now going to try to take down this one bunker. The bunker may get surrounded by Zerglings, and yes, the bunker has been taken down. All the units are now being forced to retreat once more. Zerglings over here ready to come in and perhaps snipe down again, and Loner getting caught out of position as he hasn't been able to really fortify, and now going to get another supply depot here and rebuilding the bunker so that it actually covers those supply depots. Mutalisk now getting some free tank kills as well, but Loner has done a good job clearing up some of that creep, and now this front door doesn't look nearly as destructive. But what was going to happen with those Banelings? Banelings do have that movement speed, so they are faster than Marines even when they are drugged up, as we now see Mutalisk continuing to just put in more and more pressure. Once again, it looks like the Zerglings are going to be able to swarm through. Marines are trying to focus down, now using Stim, able to push back these Mutalisks once more. It still looks like more and more Zerglings are being added to the center of the map, and we'll see how they're used. Sheth is not utilizing those queens there, as Mutalisk getting a couple more free siege tanks. So really, positioning is the name of the game here on Shattered Temple. The siege tanks are going to bury themselves way too far deep into this base. Loner, thinking that there's not much in the middle of the map, going to realize that a lot of siege tanks are going to get destroyed. Once again, Mutalisk going to finish off all of these siege tanks, and Sheth doing a great job just constantly making Sheth doing a good job making Loner constantly fight out of position. The Mutalisk perhaps could even start dealing damage towards these supply depots, start chaining that damage, and some of it could even get back to that one particular bunker. This is still a macro hatch as of now. Nothing really going on there. Overlords do not have the pneumatized carapaces, as we'll see how this is all going to break down. Loner doesn't have much inside his base. He is behind. His army is smaller. His income is smaller. Now all it is going to take is for Sheth to find out where his opponent is the weakest and attack him there. The Mutalisk now going to simply fly on by, perhaps get a couple free supply depots. No, going to push back in over here as the Marines and a missile turret just completes in time. And now 9 Mutalisk going to perhaps going to be able to take down a missile turret. The missile turret, however, is being repaired. The missile turret getting in 2 kills, maybe 3. No, just 2, as the Mutalisk do a flyby. Overlords, Zerglings, supply depots back over here. One supply depot is currently lowered. Loner does have another rather large group of units, and he is just rinsing and repeating with that same strategy. And Sheth, every time and every step of the way, has been able to catch Loner out of position, and it looks like it's going to happen once more. You can see those Zerglings are in the backside there. Marines continuing to do that push, and now in comes the swarm of Zerglings and Mutalisk coming in from behind. Going to be able to catch all of these, and nothing inside the main base whatsoever, nothing in the bunker, and now just completely decimating all of these Marines here. The Mutalisk perhaps going to get a couple of free siege tanks once again. Missile turret is in place. Zerglings now running rampant through the base. There are a couple siege tanks in the center. There is also a missile turret by Loner. So Loner does have some static defense that is definitely going to help here, but it is not going to be able to really do enough, as another siege tank may get destroyed. Down it goes. A bunker going to get canceled as the SCV gets taken down once again. Sheth having a lot of drones over here, 49 drones versus 30. This is not your typical Zerg macro style, as Sheth has really been investing heavily into an army, and now Loner may actually be able to deal damage. Loner with siege tanks in a very forward position with a decent number of Marines. Production tab shows 16 Zerglings. Banelings are hiding off over here. Is it going to be enough, as Zerglings now swarm in from behind? Going to be able to get off another siege tank. Another siege tank gets taken down. Banelings melting away that army. I know you guys all like to see Banelings melting armies, so here we go. You can see that the Zerglings are chasing. The Marines are now trying to pull back. Zerglings going to come in, surround that. Oh, one quick blast, but these Banelings find their targets, and I believe that is going to be all she wrote for Loner, as Loner now retreats back home. 4 medevacs in the air. More than half of Loner's army was in medevacs for just a very short time. And if you look at total cost, medevacs 200 resources each, and now Loner hoping to execute some drop if at all possible. I would normally say that Shattered Temple was a Terran favored map, but it never really seemed like Loner had good position. If he actually left the siege tanks here and here, it would have limited the number of Zerglings. And now, oh, Mutalisk going to be able to catch this one medevac in transit, and 15 Mutalisk able to easily take that down. Overlord's now bunching off, hiding over here. I believe this is going to be all she wrote. Loner is in trouble. Loner now taking a little bit more damage, going to lose a little bit of production as well. The sheer number of Mutalisk beating Loner, and Loner says GG. So we will be going to a game 3 in this best of 3 series. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.